It's not entirely clear at all what his specific motive was. We haven't heard it from him. But that is not stopping the political fight over what he believes.
There's a lot we don't know yet about this suspect and what his motive truly was.
We don't know very much about his ideology.
We don't know what the motive is yet.
There is no motive as of yet.
The initial reaction of so many people is to try to prove that this killer was a left-winger.
Candidly, there's been too much discussion from politicians getting ahead of this subject and speculating about left-wing ideologies and that sort of thing.
Many prominent right-wing voices blaming the political left for something that, frankly, the investigation is still very much in its early stages. There's a lot we don't know.
They took to social media very quickly, trying to ascribe motive and intent.
For the vice president to say he knows who did it and the motivation, I don't even think law enforcement has said that there was a specific motivation behind it. So this is really dangerous.
A few moments later.
In addition to those text messages that were read, we also heard about the possible motivation as Robinson's parents explained that he'd become more radical, more left-wing leaning.
We have seen an alleged murder with such specific text messages about the alleged murder weapon, where it was hidden, how it was placed, what was on it, but also it was very touching in a way that I think many of us didn't expect. A very intimate portrait into this relationship between the suspect's roommate and the suspect himself, with him repeatedly calling his roommate, who was transitioning, calling him my love, and I want to protect you, my love. So it was this duality of someone who the attorney said not only jeopardized the life of Charlie Kirk and the crowd, but was doing it in front of children, which is one of the aggravating circumstances of this case. And on the other hand, he was, speaking so lovingly about his partner. So a very interesting and, as Pierre said, riveting press conference, David.
It was tough.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So we got to talk about a bombshell press conference from the prosecutor out in Utah that is filing charges against Charlie Kirk's assassin.
Today, after reviewing the evidence that law enforcement has collected thus far, I am filing a criminal information charging Tyler James Robinson, age 22, with the following crimes. Count 1, aggravated murder, a capital offense, for intentionally or knowingly causing the death of Charlie Kirk under circumstances that created a great risk of death to others. Count 2, felony discharge of a firearm causing serious bodily injury, a first-degree felony. The state is further alleging aggravating factors on counts 1 and 2 because the defendant is believed to have targeted Charlie Kirk based on Charlie Kirk's political expression and did so knowing that children were present and would witness the homicide. And count 7, commission of a violent offense in the presence of a child, a Class A misdemeanor, for committing homicide knowing that children were present and may have seen or heard the murder and did so based on Charlie Kirk's political expression. Also, following the press conference, I am filing a notice of intent to seek the death penalty. I do not take this decision lightly, and it is a decision I have made independently as county attorney, based solely on the available evidence and circumstances and nature of the crime. Because we are seeking the death penalty, the defendant will continue to be held without bail in the Utah County Jail.
Okay, but before we get into this press conference where he's going to set the record straight on the political ideology of the assassin. Now, we already know, okay, us common sense people, okay, us people who are not in denial, who are actually living in reality, know that the assassin is far left, right? Antifa, okay, we know that he was radicalized by those types of individuals. We know exactly why he did it. It's no mystery to us, right? But according to the left, no, actually, you don't understand. He's far right, right? Even though he has "Hey Fascist" catch with Antifa arrows on the bullet casings, the Antifa far left theme song, right? Bella Ciao. This is literally the theme song for the far left. And then he also had trans furry jargon written on bullet casings as well too. Again, all clear indications of this guy being super far left. Okay, but according to leftists, no. It's obvious that he's far right, that this is infighting. But as more information has started to come out, right, as more information has started to be disseminated to the public, right, information that anybody that wants to keep their credibility as a political commentator, if they even have any at this point, cannot deny that this guy, again, clearly is far left. Now all of a sudden, they're not so sure, right? They're questioning what they thought they were sure of, even though they had no evidence to reach that conclusion in the first place. Take a look.
People were so convinced it was some Latino trans person. They don't say trans person, they say the T slur. But nonetheless, the message is still clear what they're saying here. The other thing people are pointing to now is we know he came from this massive Trump family, this Republican family. In fact, the grandma came out and gave an interview, I believe, to the Daily Beast or somebody, and said, yeah, the whole family, we're all massively right-wing. Like, we're all Republican, we're all pro-Trump. He came from a family that was steeped in gun culture. I mean, there's 1,000 pictures of them with all sorts of guns. So he was raised in that environment. There's another sad picture of him. His mom took it of him. He was pretty young, and they had given him a computer, and he's sitting there on the computer, and the mom says something about how, like, we never see him anymore because he's on the computer all day. And it's like, oh, my God, this is part of the problem. This would help lead to the radicalization. So you have all that. But now people are pointing out, and I didn't catch this before our last segment, but in 2018, on Halloween, he dressed as this Pepe meme. And the Pepe meme is one that was floating around in Nazi circles, white nationalist circles, white supremacist circles, Groyper circles. And so everybody's pointing this out and going, uh-oh, he almost certainly was in that crew. So now, I mean, I think the debate is kind of settled. And you can see based on the reaction of the right that they know. You could see based on the reaction of the right that they know. Oops, all that talk of civil war and the left are evil and the left are horrible and we're going to destroy them all. And then now it's like, oh shit, it was another one of your people, right? Just like with the Trump shooting.
Several days later.
Last time I talked to you guys, I was pretty convinced that the person who did this shooting is far right. I was pretty convinced. Now I'm going to walk through it with you why I was convinced that the person is far right. But also, now I'm not so sure because I keep coming back to professional hit job. This looks professional. There's so many things that don't add up and make no sense and are contradictory. The official story just crumbles in on itself immediately.
Yeah. So what you have there, what you just witnessed, is the stages of denial, right? When the reality sets in that you went on the internet and projected to hundreds of thousands of people a completely and totally wrong theory, and you don't want to own up to the fact that you were wrong. So now you concoct some other claim or theory that can deflect from what the actual reality is, which is that, hey, this is one of your guys, right? This is one of your guys. He's far left, okay? But, you know, what leftists are doing now, instead of just admitting the truth, is that they're saying, well, the story just doesn't make sense. There are a lot of things that just don't add up, right? Even though the story makes perfect sense. I mean, there's nothing about the story that I've seen thus far that, quote unquote, doesn't make sense. And what I notice about these people who are in the doesn't make sense crowd, these are people who eventually will just point the fingers, or they want to just point the finger at Israel, right? That's where they're going with this, right? That is what leftists are going to eventually do in order to deflect any type of blame, or to not have a conversation about how the shooter is one of their disciples. They're going to try to say, well, again, there's just a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense. The story just doesn't make sense. So, you know, it looks like this was a professional hit. And who can be behind this professional hit? Who knows, right? Like, we all know where these people go when they lack the ability to critically think, right? There are certain default answers, okay? The white man, Israel, those are the typical default answers of people who lack critical thinking skills. And that's what you're going to see from the left. But those of us who didn't really need that much critical thinking to figure out the motive behind this, we were right.
Each round in the rifle contained an etched inscription as follows. The fired cartridge was etched, no Tice's bulge, OWO, what's this? The second cartridge, that was again not spent. The last 3 were not spent, were not fired. The second, "Hey fascist," catch with arrow symbols. The third cartridge, "Oh Bella Ciao, Bella Ciao, Bella Ciao, Ciao Ciao." The fourth cartridge, "If you read this, you are gay," LMAO. The rifle, ammunition rounds, and towel were sent for forensic processing. DNA consistent with defendant was found on the trigger, other parts of the rifle, the fired cartridge casing, 2 of the 3 unfired cartridges, and the towel. Robinson's mother expressed concern to her husband that the suspect shooter looked like Robinson. Robinson's father agreed. Robinson's mother explained that over the last year or so, Robinson had become more political and had started to lean more to the left, becoming more pro-gay and trans rights oriented. She stated that Robinson began to date his roommate, a biological male who was transitioning genders. This resulted in several discussions with family members, but especially between Robinson and his father, who have very different political views. In one conversation before the shooting, Robinson mentioned that Charlie Kirk would be holding an event at UVU, which Robinson said was a stupid venue for the event. Robinson accused Kirk of spreading hate. Robinson's father reported that when his wife showed him the surveillance image of the suspected shooter in the news, he agreed that it looked like their son. He also believed that the rifle that police suspected the shooter used matched a rifle that was given to his son as a gift. As a result, Robinson's father contacted his son and asked him to send a photo of the rifle. Robinson did not respond. However, Robinson's father spoke on the phone with Robinson. Robinson implied that he planned to take his own life. Robinson's parents were able to convince him to meet at their home. As they discussed the situation, Robinson implied that he was the shooter and stated that he couldn't go to jail and just wanted to end it. When asked why he did it, Robinson explained there is too much evil and the guy, referring to Charlie Kirk, spreads too much hate. They talked about Robinson turning himself in and convinced Robinson to speak with a family friend who is a retired deputy sheriff.
Yeah, so what you guys just witnessed is Utah County Attorney General Jeff Gray completely and totally shattered the BlueAnon conspiracy theory that somehow, some way, Charlie Kirk's assassin was far right, a far right Nick Fuentes fan groiper, right? That is what the conspiracy was. Again, this is not the FBI saying this. This is the Utah County Attorney General Jeff Gray who's saying that the parents indicated that over the past year or so, Tyler became more radicalized to the far left with more pro-trans stuff, right? That's what this guy is saying, right? Also on top of that, he got in an argument with his father about his viewpoints, which are different, completely different than his family, okay? Remember, leftists was running around, well, he has a conservative pro-Trump family, therefore he must be a conservative. Doesn't seem like he was getting along with his family. It seemed like his political viewpoints actually were a point of conflict with his family, right? I can only imagine being a father, raising my son in the right way, right? With the right type of values just for my son to become radicalized into left-wing ideology, right? In the opposite direction, in the worst way possible. So I only can really feel for the father at this point in regards to what he must have been going through with his son. But clearly his son was rebelling against the values that he grew up in. That's what happened, right? And a part of that was the roommate, which we're going to get into here in a minute. But I just want to say that I understand why leftists like Kyle Kulinski don't want to admit that this guy is one of theirs, right? That he's far left. Like, I get that. I understand that. Like, you're far left. you agree with this guy, right? You have similar viewpoints. So I get why you don't want to admit that, right? I understand that. I don't expect them to admit it. What I find to be fascinating is how the mainstream liberal media and the Democrats are struggling to admit this.
Haven't seen yet, though, and which hasn't been released, is a real clear-cut ideology behind this. It looks like it may be leaning towards, perhaps something related to, gay community or trans community, but I mean, there's nothing necessarily here. He talks about his father being more pro-Trump, but is that because he's reacting to the assassination of Charlie Kirk, or is he acting out against, his father's affiliation with MAGA world? So I don't think we see a real clear-cut ideology here. One of the things that we've seen with school shootings and even the first Trump assassination attempt, these young men, a lot of young men similar to this, have this nihilistic view, and they're acting out. But it's not traditional ideologies. It's some kind of blend sometimes, and nothing you can put a finger on. So you have some groups that champion this, but we haven't seen evidence of any of that yet. He's certainly, in chat rooms that are consistent with this kind of thing, but at least the information that has been released so far doesn't really paint a clear picture of why he did this. We have the act and evidence of the act, but we really don't understand the guilty mind yet and what drove him towards this.
Do you think the political violence problem on the right is worse than what it is on the left?
I think it's a false comparison in the first place. And I think we should have a leader that is responsible enough to denounce political violence, period. It's not about where it comes from. It's about the fact that it is happening. It is never okay. It is never okay if it happens on the left. It is never okay if it happens on the right. And if we had someone that knew how to be an adult in the room, he would say that. But when we look at it, please tell me who is fostering this gun culture, right? I mean, the reality is that the average person on the left probably couldn't make a shot from 200 yards because they haven't been playing with assault rifles since they were a little kid. Like, that is just the reality of how people on the left typically work.
Right? If there's no liberal bias, why is it that the mainstream liberal media is struggling to admit the truth? They have no issue struggling to admit a shooter is far right, even though they don't really have evidence that a shooter is far right, but they have no problem whatsoever admitting that when a shooting fits the narrative. But when the shooting doesn't fit the narrative, it actually fits the exact opposite narrative that they want to push, they struggle really, really, really hard to admit the truth. Maybe it's because they're far left, right? Maybe it's because the liberal media is actually liberal. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense for them to be so afraid of admitting the truth. So, at this point, we know that this individual was radicalized by left-wing ideology. This is an established fact. Okay, we know this. Now we have questions about the roommate, okay, because apparently he had a trans boyfriend, okay, and they were lovers, okay, and I think that it is possible that this could also be part of the motive. So without further ado, let's listen to some of the bombshell text messages that they exchanged on Discord, allegedly.
The roommate. Police interviewed Robinson's roommate, a biological male who was involved in a romantic relationship with Robinson. The roommate told police that the roommate received messages from Robinson about the shooting, and he did provide those messages to police. On September 10th, 2025, the roommate received a text message from Robinson which said, "Drop what you're doing. Look under my keyboard." The roommate looked under the keyboard and found a note that stated, quote, "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it." Police found a photograph of this note. The following text exchange, then took place. After reading the note, the roommate responded, "What? You're joking, right?" Robinson, "I am still okay, my love, but am stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I gotta grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you. Roommate, you weren't the one who did it, right? Robinson, I am. I'm sorry. Roommate, I thought they caught the person. Robinson, no, they grabbed some crazy old dude, then interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering. Roommate, why? Robinson, why did I do it? Roommate, yeah. Robinson, I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence.
Wow. Wow. Again, we continue to hear the reoccurring theme of Charlie Kirk was hateful. He spewed hate. He spewed hate. He spewed hate. Now, again, anybody with basic knowledge of the political spectrum, just with a basic understanding of politics, understands which side of the aisle is most concerned about hate, right? So, again, I mean, it all makes sense to me. There's nothing about this story that's unbelievable. Yeah, there may be a few details here and there where you may have some questions, but again, everything is not going to fit together perfectly, right? Especially doing an investigation like this. But the key parts, right? Everything that I need to know about how this happened, to me, fits together nicely in a way where I am certain that this guy did it. I am certain that he did it due to his far-left ideology and to shut down Charlie Kirk's free speech that, again, leftists see as hateful, right? I mean, that sounds about right, right? That sounds about right.
Going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they have moved on. I haven't seen anything about them finding it. Roommate, how long have you been planning this? Robinson, a bit over a week, I believe. I can get close to it, but there is a squad car parked right by it. I think they already swept that spot, but I don't want to chance it. Robinson again, I'm wishing I had circled back and grabbed it as soon as I got to my vehicle. I'm worried what my old man would do if I didn't bring back Grandpa's rifle. IDEK if it's had a serial number, but it wouldn't trace to me. I worry about prints. I had to leave it in a bush where I changed outfits. Didn't have the ability or time to bring it with. I might have to abandon it and hope they don't find prints. How the F will I explain losing it to my old man? Only thing I left was the rifle wrapped in a towel. Remember how I was engraving bullets? The F in messages are mostly a big meme. If I see notice bulge UWU on Fox News, I might have a stroke, all right. I'm going to have to leave it.
Yeah, so this part of the message exchange, leftists are using to say, see, well, he said that what was written on the rifle was just memes. Now, at first, they claimed that what was written on the rifle was proof that he's far right, even though that was just completely and totally wrong. But now, all of a sudden, it's, well, see, he said it was a meme. It's not to be taken seriously. We don't know what he believed. And it's like, no. He confirmed what anybody with common sense and critical thinking already knew in regards to why he put that on the rifle. Clearly, he was trolling, right? Clearly, he was trying to troll conservatives. I already told you guys, literally at the beginning of this, I said, yeah, the reason why he wrote, if you're reading this, then you're gay, okay? Because he knew who would find it. He knew that the FBI, that conservatives would find it and they would see it, and it was kind of like a sinister joke. Everybody knew that. Right? That was no mystery. Okay? So, yeah, I mean, again, this guy is confirming what everybody with common sense already knew.
That really effing sucks. Judging from today, I'd say Grandpa's gun does just fine, IDK. I think that was a $2K dollar scope. Wink, wink. Robinson again, delete this exchange. Again, Robinson, my dad wants photos of the rifle. He says Grandpa wants to know who has what? The feds released a photo of the rifle, and it is very unique. He's calling me, RN, not answering. Robinson, since Trump got into office, my dad has been pretty diehard MAGA. Robinson, I'm going to turn myself in willingly. One of my neighbors here is a deputy for the sheriff. Again, you are all I worry about, love. That came from Robinson. Roommate, I'm much more worried about you. Robinson, don't talk to the media, please. Don't take any interviews or make any comments. If any police ask you questions, ask for a lawyer and stay silent. The search for Robinson's residence. Police executed a search warrant on Robinson's residence. During that search, police discovered a shell casing with etchings like the etchings found on the shells in the rifle near UVU. Police also found several target boards with bullet holes in Robinson's home.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Any questions? Any questions? I think at this point it's pretty clear what happened, how it happened, why it happened, who was involved. Yes, I think there's more things to investigate, but I think that we have the gist now of the main questions that need to be answered, right? I mean, from those text messages, it doesn't sound like that the trans boyfriend actively knew that it was happening, right? In the sense that the trans boyfriend helped Robinson do it anyway. Now, again, I don't know. I think that aspect of it is still being investigated. There's probably more information to come out. But again, when it comes to the basics of why it happened, we know that, right? And I think that now it's time to start having that conversation about the far left and what about far left ideology is driving individuals to commit these violent acts, right? What about this individual's ideology? What was he into? Okay, who is he listening to, right? I think that those are very important questions to answer, okay? And at this point, that's where we should be at. And anybody out here claiming otherwise, that, oh, this is far right or we don't know, just understand they're not honest actors, that they shouldn't be taken seriously. And you shouldn't listen to them, right? Anybody claiming we don't know or, we need to wait. No, we know, okay? And they're not going to be able to sweep this under the rug. There's just too much evidence. It's too in your face. You're not going to gaslight the American people like this. We'll see, right? I think that it's going to be interesting over the next few days to see how the media handles these revelations that they can't continue to deny, right? They can't continue to come out here and say that we don't know or that he's far right when even the local, right? Even the state has admitted, we got a far leftist here, right? We're clearly dealing with radical leftist ideology. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.